I am Bilal Morris, and this is Belizean Legends. As Belizeans, we have a great history of achievement. We are fortunate to witness some magnificent athletic performances. We've been privileged to enjoy great musical concerts from extraordinary musical artists. As a nation, we have struggled politically, but also made great progress. Culturally, we continue to evolve as a society. Where were you when some of these incredible moments occurred? Belizean Legends will transcend you back into time to relive some of these spectacular events and offer some behind-the-scenes perspective on the untold stories, as well as updating you on the individual lives featured in this series. Today we are speaking with Bernadine McDougal, one of the legendary softball players, and I always use that word whenever I'm interviewing any of you because you are and you were legendary players. Bernadine, we want to welcome you to this documentary, When We Were Queens, and I just want to get from you, what was your softball career like? How did you get started in softball in Belize? And take us through that journey.
You know, my softball journey started, I would say, at Wesley College. Prior to that, I lived in Silgrass, and it was something that we just did like in the evenings, nothing to do, so you did that. But as I moved to Belize City, then I think my desire for softball became a little bit more reality. And then when I went to Wesley College, my first year of Wesley College, I joined the softball team there. And that's when we had players like Margaret Usher and Margaret Usher. Today, a couple of the two most popular ones that I met. And I think it was maybe my junior, senior year at Wesley College. Our coach at the time was Colin Gill, and he invited me out to come play with his city team at the time was Millport. I think they were formerly done right, but at the time I joined them, they were Millport. And that was in like 77, I think. So I was a junior. And so it went from there, and within a year of playing the city competition, I was able to make it to the national team, and the rest from there, like they say, was history. Yeah.
Yeah. You were in the 1979 game against the United States.
Correct.
That was so. There are two great periods for me as a documentary.
That gold medal team that went to Santo Domingo.
The 74 team and the 79 team. Both those two teams did something great. The 74 team won the gold medal in the Central American and Caribbean Games, but your team did the phenomenal thing. Beat the greatest softball team ever in the history of softball in the United States. Tell us about that game.
Wow. That game is like I still can replay it like it was yesterday. The game started out like any other game. We're going up against the U.S., but I think that for us, maybe a little bit of naivety that it was just another game for us. We're playing the U.S., and we go there and we'll play, the best, like we know how, the best game we can. And I can remember at one point, maybe like halfway through the game, it wasn't surprising to us that we were at least defending them. We just knew that we had to, our offense was what against them that we would have to worry about, because we felt like our defense was very good, but our offense was, we know they had one of the greatest pitchers in the world, greatest defense in the world. But I can remember about halfway through the game, we're coming in after one of the innings, and Lashley said to us, okay, 4 down, 3 more to go, and we realized we're in the 4th inning and we're winning this game. And every time we came in, he's asking Margaret, Margaret Usher was a pitcher on the mound at that time, like, how are you holding up? And she's like, I'm doing great, and we realized that we've just scored 2 runs and they had only 1. And I can't to tell you what inning we scored or when we did it. I would probably have to maybe look at stats to see that. But I can remember just like the overwhelming feeling coming when we actually could win this game. Not to say that it surprised us. I think it surprised everybody else that it surprised us. But um, the feeling. I mean, I didn't really, at least me, didn't really go into the history of how many games they have lost or when was the last time they've lost, and stuff like that. So all that information came out, as far as to my knowledge, afterwards, that they haven't lost a game in almost 10 years. Nobody had beat them. They haven't lost the competition, a game, or anything. Okay, coming off the field, Lashley was telling us, hey, 4 down, 3 more to go, and we're ahead, and just take it, one inning at a time. And his concern was how his pitcher, how Margaret was holding up, and she was like, I'm in rare form, I'm ready to go. And I can remember at the end of the game, he's like, that was 150,000 to 250 million. That was the ratio of our population, at the time. And he's just trying, I guess, to get us to realize what we've done. But for us, it was like, okay, yeah, we won a game. It was against the U.S. and we're related. But I think the reality of it didn't hit us until later.
Yes, at that time.
Until later.
You didn't realize what
we've done.
You had done.
Because to us, we just like in automatic pilot. Every game we go there, we try to win. We play our best.
I remember Margaret Usher and Glenn Ellis mentioned that the U.S. pitcher said that Margaret won't have enough arms to even pitch against them because of the seriousness of their team. Yeah, I want to go away from the game, the international games for a while, and go into the inter-city and inter-district competitions. Those serious rivalries that was between Guineas and the other teams that you guys played on. Though you were a national team playing against the greatest in the world, you also played serious ball against each other in the city. Tell us about those games.
Those were some I think that probably built, or that really bond that we had with each other, because even though we played against each other and there's a lot of trash talking going on during those games, and after that we respected each other's talent. We always try to know the weakness in that team. And I think I was lucky enough to say that. I say lucky because I played with Margaret Usher, and who was really one of the... We had like a coach and a manager on the field while we were playing, because she studied these players that well. But that rivalry was a very respectful rivalry between each other. I mean, we were playing against each other during a game, and after the game, some of these girls on the opposite teams are really best friends that, they hang out and they go places after the games, and they just finish, playing against each other in a really, really, close, competitive game. So that some people, I would say, took it, outside of that, and things became personal. But I think for the people who really respected the game, and we respected each other, so and that bond also came. And even though you may have a little problem with a certain player, once we got on that team, that went out the window. We were able to respect each other and play together.
It helped shape to the athleticism and the sportsmanship that you guys were playing.
Yeah, and that competition, better. Knowing that person is good, and you try to outplay that person, really, in a lot of ways, helped with the caliber of players that we had.
We talk about the role parents and family and country played in giving you all that boost, that moral support. Let's talk about the role that the coaches play. Coaches like Raymond Lashley and Solis. What role did these coaches play developing the skill of the player at that time?
They were a big part of it, because as far as one of the main things that we first of all had was the respect for our coaches. Not to say that we didn't joke, we didn't have our fun, but we knew when to cut that, and when it was, okay, this is serious time and we're in the field, and that, all that joking and laughter is off out now. We had, like, I can speak for my coach, Solis and Colin Gill, at some point on my city team, where not only were they didn't take it was like a no nonsense type of thing, especially with Colin Gill. But even with Solis, there was some of the girls who said that was, whether they had a father in the house or not, that was like their father figure, or in some cases, that's my second father. So we're out there, and that level of respect is there. As far as discipline and stuff, it's that we had a game the next day. We're not supposed to be out the night before, or we're not supposed. So there was a lot of not only on the field discipline, but as far as even the way we carry ourselves, outside of the game and at home, or So they played a very important, role too, as far as
mentorship,
mentoring us and being there in other ways other than just the coach. I mean, sometimes there's some girls who needed to get to work, or a ride to work, or a pickup, or they need picked up to get to practice or stuff like that. And they were there
also
to do
making
that.
sure that you all stayed in school.
A lot of it is
getting your education at the same time.
And that came in, like I said, when we were in high school, and even coming out of high school, it was as far as maybe landing a job or pointing us in the direction of getting a job. So they were very important in our day-to-day lives, also, not just on the field.
And you played many different parts of the game in the inter-district or in the city competitions. What was your favorite area? What was your particular part that you played on the mound, or on the softball diamond itself? And in terms of the games that you all played against these different countries like Jamaica and stuff like that, what did you bring to the game? Specifically, Bernadine McDougal, what did you think that you brought to the game during your time?
I think you mean as far as my positions that I played, and I played. I started out playing center field for my local team, and then after that, I think I can't remember Solis where it was, but eventually I got to be known as one of the utility players, where I felt I fitted anywhere on that field except that I didn't play was a catcher or a pitcher. But I played first base, second base, third base, and any one of the outfield positions defensively. And offensively, I think what I brought to the game was more my bat. I usually was first or second leadoff or second, or I was a cleanup in the fourth position. Not that I started in those places, but eventually that was, I think, what I eventually brought.
Were you one of the ones in the game against the United States? Were you one of those that were? Then they always talk about that such and such was on the base, and then she gave that hit. Were you one of those ones that?
I was on the base, I believe, when Glenda gave that hit. So I was one of the runs that scored. Correct.
You were one of them.
Yeah. My thing was, I think, my speed. That once I got on the base, it was okay. She's gonna steal. She's gonna get down there, or so it was most of my speed on my back.
The Belizean players, they love to steal. I used to love to watch that. They were so brave in that.
I remember there was a time when I was sidelined, and I can't even say sidelined because I remember in practicing what we call like a suicide squeeze. Myself and Claudette Bush was one of the two runners they were using as base runners, and they're telling us it was raining that day, because rain or shine, we're gonna be on the field practicing. And I remember them saying, "Don't hit the base, don't touch the home plate, just run over it," because it was wet. And I happened to hit it, slipped, and pulled this muscle and this muscle at the same time. But we were supposed to be traveling, and I remember banding those things up so tight that I did so I wouldn't feel
And
any
played
feeling.
throughout all
And
that?
played through it, a couple of times when I was in a situation where, okay, we need somebody to run, but I was still put up there because I would say off my back, so to speak.
You got the job
Hitting
done.
and then, yeah.
You brought in
We
the
did.
score. You
Yeah.
turned difficult situations
Right.
into a win.
So,
Yeah.
it was Glenda again was one of our, power hitters. She was always a sure bat almost. But for the most part, I would say at that time, even the team that was the fielding team at the time, I think we all had confidence in each other's.
The way the coaches had prepared you all in terms of playing, coming to practice, rain or shine, you all were practicing if it's raining or if it's not raining. I mean, it seems to have been a big factor in helping you all in competitions where you were playing and you would have a rain and you all would play right through that.
Yeah, because it's like when you are, I guess, practicing in less favorable conditions, when everything is falling into place, we really saw where it helped because we were able to play if it was extremely hot, if it's raining. There were a couple of times I remember even going up towards Mexico to do some exhibition games and stuff to get used to altitude and different things. So, but again,
playing under severe conditions like you, who are pulling a muscle but yet you band that up and still play.
Yeah.
That's all part of your preparation.
It's. I think it comes though from a desire to just want to be good and a love for the sport.
Yes.
It was fun. And we liked what we're doing. So.
What would you tell the young softball players of today, who, as you and I know, have seen them, they lack that discipline, they lack that passion for the game that you all had. It has never been duplicated again. What advice do you have for them?
First of all, you gotta love it. You gotta truly, truly love it, and you have to have that deep desire to be good, and you don't want to halfway do something. Give it all you got. But again, that comes right back to a passion and a love for the sport. I remember one time there was a certain player we had that a very good player, national team player year after year after year, and on their local team, Colin Gill was like, if you're coming out here to waste time or just get away from home, you can go home. Don't,
Straight like that.
Yeah, just like that. Don't come out here to try to kill time or waste time, and if you're, then don't waste my time. Don't be out here doing that, because when you're out here, you give it your all. I can remember us working out till we're about to drop. Certain players took it upon themselves to come to practice an hour before and just do some training and jogging and
Lillian Smith
running
mentioned how
and-
the coaches used to pitch to you all. The
men. We
and then
had
laugh on top of
right.
it.
We had certain times when it's like we're gonna play against the men, and they're like, don't think that we're gonna think with acting like we're playing against women. No, there was no mercy shown, so to speak. But there was a lot of things that we did, but you have to go the extra mile.
As a person who have played the game at the highest level, in your whole time as a softball player in Belize, where Belize produced some of the best players, who were to you the best pitchers and some of the best that played the game beside yourself, that you can champion today and say those were some of the legendary players, both those who have been deceased and those who are still here today?
Starting out with the pitchers, I never played against or with was, I would say, Isaac Reed. And that was before me.
Morris,
Right, awesome, and then I know they talk about Consuelo Dugal, Linda Lewis, Margaret Usher, but I felt like Margaret was more, like I always say, she was more a student of the game. She learned her opponents, that if a pitcher a batter came up to the mound, I usually would play was at the last few years playing third base with her, and if she tells me McDougal come out, McDougal step back, regardless of what my coach is telling me, I listen to what Margaret says, because that means she has a certain type of ball she's gonna pitch up, where she knows they're gonna come down the third base line, they're gonna bunt, whatever. So yeah,
She knew where they were going to hit the
she
ball.
knows how to pitch them, and she knew more or less where that ball was gonna go. So she's telling me, so this would tell me, McDougal come up, and she telling McDougal step back. I'm stepping back. You know, I'm listening to her. So as far as pitches go, my favorite, I would say, is Margaret Usher. I mean, as far as other players that I can mention, I mean, you have the Rubio sisters, Irma and Lorna, who played for, I believe they played for Guineas at the time, but it was also national team members. You have Dorette Martinez, and these are players from my time. I know there's players before that I may miss. You had players like Glenda Ellis. You had Claudette Bush, one of the greatest catchers. You know, Noreen Borden. You had Pat Bennett. You know, another great outfielder. You had Delsa Franklin Lazama, who also played with Guineas, who also did the outfield. You had Cynthia Casey Swift, great first base person. You have Eula Gilliard at shortstop. You know, another Glenda Ellis, you know, second base. I hope I'm not forgetting, you know, any of them, but
just
but
bringing me back to the game,
right?
And all
you know,
those names and the sensational performances.
You know, and those girls were unbelievable, man. I mean, you know, whether we respected them when you played against them, and then you happen to have them on your team as teammates on the national team. You know, Dorette Martinez was always spectacular, you know, in the outfield. Irma Rubio, the same thing. You know, Delsa Franklin was more, she just gets the job done, you know, quietly. You had her sister Melva also, who did that. Yeah, you know, Cynthia Jenkins was one of them.
So many of
there's a lot. I mean, before, I don't think since our team was maybe the last of the greatest ones.
And like all the names were mentioned.
Yeah, there wasn't one person on the
radio,
team. Right.
You
know,
hear that today.
Yeah, it was just amazing. But like you said again, those girls, they put in the work. You know, there's no shortcut to it. You know, there's no shortcut to it. So they just put the work in, and they were great.
What message, Bernadine McDougal, one of the players that have ever played the game at its highest level, what message do you have for the people of Belize and those who will remember you for what you did? What message do you have for them?
You know, first of all, I guess I would want to say thank you, because, you know, they really, it's like you felt proud to walk around and be a Belizean in Belize, you know, during that time. The warmth that you felt from people just on the streets, like, hi, you know, how you doing, or, you know, congratulations, or, you know, we're proud of you, or you made us proud. And I think what it did for me was, you know, coming up from that shy little girl to a more confident, outspoken, and, you know, type of, you know, of young woman, I would say. So it was a positive experience overall.
Well, you all surely did made a great contribution to your country. You did one of the greatest things that any national of any country would love to do. And for that, I want to thank you very much for giving us this honor today to interview you.
Well, thank you. Okay, and I want to say thank you. It was a pleasure.
We were just speaking with Bernadine McDougal, one of the Belize legendary softball players who played the game in the 1979 game against the United States. And I just feel that this is a way of giving something back to you guys to say thank you very much for the incredible job that you have done in making the country proud.
And thank you so much for the recognition, you know, for taking the time out to do that, to document it.